Good morning. My name is Ann NB. I am your MC following yesterday to lead the 2023 International Conference for Global Cooperation and Traditional Medicine. Following yesterday, we are also joined by many participants and distinguished guests in this room, and thank you very much for coming back. Before starting this conference, I will make several announcements for safety. For the safety of everyone, when you leave, please use the hallway in the middle, not on the right side. And when you leave, please move slowly, guided by our staff members.
The safety guidelines. For your safety, we kindly request you to use the center aisle and refrain from using the stairs on the right side of the entrance. And when you leave or move around this venue during this event, please follow the instruction and direction of our staff members. 또 발열이나 기침, 오한 등 코로나 의심 증상이 있으신 분들께서는 저희 스태프에게 도움을 요청해 주시기 바랍니다. And if you experience any suspected symptom of COVID-19, such as fever, cough, or chills, please do not hesitate to reach out to our staff members for assistance. The 2023 International Conference for Global Cooperation in Traditional Medicine will do our best and we are committed to ensuring the safety of all of our participants. 어제와 마찬가지로 오늘 컨퍼런스 실시간 동시 통역이 제공됩니다. 한국어는 1번, 영어는 2번 채널을 통해 통역이 제공되니까요. 여러분 가지고 계신 동시 통역 수신기를 사용하시면 되겠습니다. 또 온 오프라인으로 만족도 조사 진행하고 있습니다. 현장에 계신 분들께서는 아마 등록 데스크에서 만족도 조사지 받으셨을 텐데요. 나가실 때 꼭 잊지 마시고 만족도 조사지 제출해 주시기 바랍니다. 그리고 온라인으로 시청하시는 분들께서는 영상 하단 상세보기란에 보시면 만족도 조사 링크가 있습니다. 네, 그 링크를 통해 다양한 의견 나눠주시면 저희가 그 소중한 의견 수렴하도록 하겠습니다. 네, 그럼 2일차의 첫 세션 4를 시작.
We're going to begin the first session of day 2, session 4.
을 15분에서 20분 내외로 맞춰주시면 감사하겠습니다. 네 번째 세션의 첫 발표는요.
We give each speaker about 15 to 20 minutes for smooth operation of our sessions. We are going to ask Honorary President Ju Tae-chung of University of Integrated Medicine in Virginia. Please give him a warm round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite be presenting on the topic of strategy for globalization in traditional Korean medicine and examples of the cases. 네, 부탁드립니다.
Good morning. I am Ju Tae-chung, Honorary President of Virginia University of Integrative Medicine. How do I use this pointer? Okay. I would like to introduce myself. When I was first asked to speak at this conference, I was asked to share some case studies and globalizing Korean medicine or Oriental medicine. That was the topic I was asked by the organizers to speak of. So I prepared some case studies to share with you. However, all these are coming from my experience, so I'm going to introduce briefly myself and how Oriental or Korean medicine can expand to the US market to have a smooth entrance into the US. In 1999, I went to the United States. I moved to the US. And back then, the Samra University of Oriental Medicine issued a working visa for me. So I received the working visa for the US in Korea, and then I moved to the US. And A university sponsored my green card, my residency, permanent residency, and I received the green card in 2004. So you might ask why it took me 5 years to receive the green card. That is because I applied for the green card in 2000, and in 2001, the September 11th tragedy happened. So it took some time for foreigners to receive green card. And then in 2003, I was supposed to receive the green card, but INS was split into three: ICE and maybe CBS or something like that, and USICS. It was split into three, so it further postponed my receiving the green card. Usually, if someone is sponsored by the university, you can receive green card in about a year's time. And about 5 years after receiving a green card, you can apply for the citizenship. That is the US citizenship policy. So I kept my green card for some time. And in 2010, I wanted to set up a school. So I tried to set up a school, and it required me having a US citizenship. So I applied for and received citizenship in 2010. So currently, my passport is a US citizen. But before that, and before that before coming to the US, this is very general. As a Korean medicine doctor, I studied at Kyunghee University. I also did a residency, and then I moved to Samra University of Oriental Medicine and worked there about 15 years as a professor and supervisor. And DAOM was back then just started. The doctoral program for acupuncture was just started at the time. So I was the director of DAOM, and I tried to set up this school, but we didn't have enough finances. So I had to move to Virginia University of Integrative Medicine, serving as the president for 5 years, and then I left for Wongu University of Oriental Medicine in Las Vegas. I served there about 3 years. It is a unification church school, and then I came to Virginia University of Integrative Medicine. There are three campuses, and I am in charge of New Jersey. And then there's ACOM, ACAHM. I'm going to come to ACOM or ACAHM a little bit later. This is an accreditation agency in the United States, and I served as a site visitor to AKAHM about for 2 years. What is a site visitor then? Site visitor is more like an auditor to the university, somebody who supervises and oversees whether the school meets the accreditation standards of ACAHM. So I served as the auditor. Usually, four auditors work in a group. I was one of the four auditors or site visitors. And also, I founded in 2007 AISA, or Association of International Saam Acupuncture, which is still going well. And since I use Saam acupuncture very frequently at my clinic, and I gained attention, my students asked me to teach and speak in Europe. So I used to travel to talk about Saam acupuncture in Europe and South Africa and other countries. That was about me. And through my talk, I want to discuss how to establish an Oriental medicine school in the USA, how we can expand Oriental medicine by setting up schools in the US. I will also talk about the accreditation system. In Korea, all universities are governed by the Ministry of Education. However, in the US, the universities are not governed by Department of Education. The Department of Education entrust all the power to the accreditation agency. Then the accreditation agency has to govern all the legal issues and ensure the quality of schools. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the US accreditation system. And I will also talk about the agency who gives the accreditation to OM or Oriental Medicine schools in the US. And after being accredited, you can establish the school. Then what happens? How can you expand your school further after being accredited? That would be the last part of my talk. Can I have a glass of water, please? The first step is the first step to establishing a school is getting the approval from the state government. Unless you are approved by the state government, you cannot apply for an accreditation. Each state government has a post-secondary education department. In order to get the approval, you need to have the facility. You need to have the classrooms, desks, all the teaching facilities. You should also have the staff members. You should have the faculty who have the license to practice acupuncture. And then after having all this, you can apply for the approval from the state government. But each state has different laws. Example, in California, the Bureau for Private Post-Secondary Education, or BPPE, in New Jersey, the agency is OHSE. In Nevada, it's called CPE. In Virginia, it's called SHEV. So each state has different agencies with different names that gives the approval. So you apply for the approval from the state government to operate your school and recruit students. And you operate your school for about a year. And during this time, ACOM is now that the name has changed from ACOM to ACHM. You have to go to ACHM to send an application for accreditation. You submit a letter of intention to this agency. Then ACOM will provide some training course. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the accreditation system. According to the federal law, accreditation needs to be acquired, and the accreditation agency, there are two accreditation agencies. One is the accreditation from the Department of Education, and the other is coming from Shea Council for Higher Education Accreditation. I don't know if you have heard, there is also the regional accreditation that is the most rigorous, that has the most rigorous requirements. You must know WASC very well. WASC is a Union of Universities in the West Coast, and then Middle State Commission in the middle part of the country, and on the East Coast there is Higher Learning Commission. These are the names of accreditation agencies who pose the most rigorous standards for accreditation. So once you get into the schools under this accreditation, the scores and the credits they earn are respected in any other universities. And once you get accredited, you can open any departments. You can open medical school, Oriental Medical School, or law school. So these are the organizations who set up the highest level of requirements. And then there are national accreditation agencies, and these agencies usually accredit only up to the master's course. So the standards from here are a little bit weaker than those from the regional agencies. These agencies give accreditation to universities who are more job related. Why do you need the accreditation? The students can receive the federal loan if the school is accredited. So only when the school has the accreditation from these governments can the school become of a certain size. And if the university is not accredited, the credits the students get from that school are not recognized by other organizations. There are regional and national and programmatic accreditations. It is also called specific accrediting agencies, and these give accreditation to specific programs. For example, accrediting an acupuncture program or a nursing program, medical doctor, and so on. These are called programmatic accrediting agencies. And there's only one agency that this only agency that gives accreditation to acupuncture school, ACAHM. On the website, the government website is failing to update the name change, but the name changed last year because the term Oriental is not very positive always. So they changed the name from Oriental Medicine to Herbal Medicine. It is now called ACAHM. So sometimes I make a mistake and say ACOM, but when I say ACOM, I also refer to the same organization called ACAHM. So ACAHM is the only agency that provides accreditation to Oriental Medical School. There are 51 schools accredited under this system, and among these, of course, new schools are established and old schools sometimes disappear. But students need to graduate from an accredited university to be able to apply for a licensing test in the US. Students graduating from US OM school must be a graduate of an OM school that is accredited by ACAHM. That is why this agency is very important. And all the Oriental medical schools in the US work hard to be accredited by ACHM. The scope of recognition by ACHM gives ACOM receives the accreditation from USDE only, not from SHEA, but sometimes ACOM is the agency, accreditation agency that is approved by USDE. The schools which are accredited by this agency can provide diverse degrees, MSA, MSOM, or PD, professional doctoral program, the doctoral course, and DAOM. PD and DAOM are different in that PD is the entry level. So you start a doctoral program from the beginning, but DAOM is given to students who already have the license as a Korean medicine or Oriental medicine doctor and who will receive a doctor of medicine. In the US, many health practitioners, including chiropractic chiropractic practitioners, most of them have doctoral degrees, but Korean medicine doctors only have master's degree. So ACAHM is seeking to change this situation and elevate the level of degree from Oriental medicine degree doctors to have doctoral degrees. So from now on, most Korean medicine doctors will have doctoral degrees in the future. I would like to touch upon the details of the accreditation procedures. The first is eligibility. This is a process to be pre-accredited. At first, you get the approval from the state government, and then you go through the eligibility phase to get yourself prepared, and that's when you write the SSR or self-study report. And then there's the phase for pre-accreditation. You first submit a letter of intention, and after all the self-study reports have been reviewed, then the site visitors make the visit to the school and checks whether the schools are providing good classes for Oriental medicine, and then they provide. If the schools pass, they give the pre-accreditation for 3 years. That is also called the candidacy status. So when you become a candidate for 3 years, then you have to write another batch of self-study reports, SSR. You write the SSR and all the curriculums and gets checked if all your curriculums and the content of education meet the standards of AACAHM, and then you apply for the full accreditation during these 3 years of time. Then the site visitors come again to review the school. Afterwards, the commission makes the final decision whether or not to accredit the school. The initial full accreditation is given for 5 years. After 5 years, you apply for re-accreditation. Usually you're given 7 years and you are re-accredited for 7 years. So these slides talk about the steps in the procedure. Now we're going into a rather more important part of my presentation. Before COVID, there was a program that is called hybrid style. Didactic means not just teaching theories, not hands-on practice. The schools could give 49% of didactic classes without any approval, according to ACAM. So, students who live very far from the school could just take didactic classes, but for other classes, you had to actually travel to the school. However, since COVID, all the classes have converted into online style. So, if you have branch campus or additional location, it'll help operation of the school in a great extent. If you have a branch campus or you have an additional location, then those schools can provide all the didactic classes online in one location. And these schools provide hands-on practices or intern clinics separately in a physical location. The intern clinics also can make money on their own because it is a clinic, so it is not difficult to operate this clinic. The concept of branch campus and the additional location are different in that in a branch campus is an independent standalone school, so there should be a faculty, a board of directors, so there should be a separate budget for this campus, and also all the power to appoint staff and the faculty are separate in this branch campus. All the education is done in the campus in a standalone manner. There's everything, all the facilities, such as library, should meet the standards of a headquarter campus, the main campus. Whereas in an additional location, of course, an additional location should be able to provide 100% of its courses. According to the regulation, an additional location can only should only be able to provide 50% of schooling, but actually they can provide 100% of all the schools. All the financing and hiring of people are done by the main campus. It is more centralized. The main campus serves as the central location, and all the curriculum and the school affairs are managed by the main campus. So if you have an additional location, you have benefits because the accreditation requirements are not so rigorous. All the facilities such as library are do not have to be in place just like a main campus has to do. As long as you have a couple of classrooms and a clinic, you can have an additional location. So my recommendation, if you are looking to set up an Oriental medical school in the US, and if you want to operate multiple branches, I recommend you try additional locations. And if there's anyone, if someone comes along the way and telling you that he or she wants to operate their own school, then you can convert one of the additional locations to a branch, and you can change the owner, and you can change the name of the school. Then you can you can transfer this additional location to somebody else's branch campus. I've been working in universities for 25 years in the US alone, and I wanted to set up a new school, made my attempts, and I went through all the process of accrediting this school. I also served as the ACOM site visitor, so I believe that I am quite knowledgeable about this particular topic. So that is why I am here to explain what to do. That was a brief explanation, but if you're really interested in setting up a medical school in the US, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Then I'll be happy to consult with you on what to do. So these are some statistics of the 51 OM schools in the US who have branch or additional locations. Several of them have branches or additional locations. For example, the first one on the row is called Five Branches Universities in San Francisco. This university has a branch in San Jose, and New York College of Health Professions, I believe it is located in Long Island, and they opened an additional location in Manhattan. And PCOM is a university that you know very well. This is in San Diego, and PCOM has two branches. The first one in Chicago, the other one in New York. This university is now managed by management experts, and the tuition is quite high. There's also South Baylor. It used to be in Anaheim and California. Now they have an additional location in Los Angeles, California. Southwest Acupuncture College has a branch in Boulder, Colorado, and also a Texas school. And then you have the Virginia University, where I work for. We have additional locations in New Jersey and in Georgia. At this moment, many branches and not many schools have many branches or additional locations. But if you take another university, this particular school must have received both regional and national accreditation. University of Phoenix is a famous school, currently has 36 campuses, and at one point in time it had more than 150 branches. But they reduced the number of these branches and they are providing their courses mostly online now. My conclusion is this process is also a process of exporting human resources. Many Korean medicine doctors would like to go abroad. If you open a branch school from a Korean medical school here in Korea, then you can export human resources. In my experience, there were very few or almost no examples of failing getting a green card or citizenship one as long as they are sponsored by university. So exporting human resources by receiving the visa sponsored by the university is the best and the safest way. It is safer than just uh, just moving to the US and fall victim to some fraud in visa fraud. And I've seen some people who go through this and then come back disappointed. But the safest way is to apply for a green card after being supported a visa. One way to move to the US is to go through an H1 visa from sponsorship and then NIW, National Interest Waiver. If you have very remarkable academic achievement, for example, if you were Olympic gold medalist, then those people can move to the US and receive green card or citizenship very quickly through NIW. There are other many ways, such as getting the invitation from family members or investment immigration. But I guess for us, for you, the easiest way and the safest way is to be sponsored by a university. So I suggest that many of you can move to the US and set up schools of Oriental medicine and expand this excellent practice. Here in this room, In the US, there's a newly established organization, which is the Association of Korean Medicine Doctors in the US. It is like a branch office of Korean Association of Korean Medicines. Currently, about 30 Korean medicine doctors. There are only 30 people in 50, as many as 50 states. So there are just too few. So I suggest many of you can try exporting more human resources, more manpower to the US. And then now we can talk about expanding Korean medicine. I searched online that the China, as of 2019, were able to make 5.3 trillion won in 2019 by selling Oriental medicine. But Korea did not even have any numbers in the stats, which means that China is making a lot of money by selling the herbal medicines. So if you open a branch and open a clinic in the US, you can also export the Korean medicine as well. Not only Korean medicines, but also medical devices. Even in the US, there's no pulsimeters. And also in Korea, there are many kinds of Korean medicine that are easier to take, that taste better to take. So those more advanced Korean medicine can expand into the US market through this branch and clinics. It'll actually help the country, Korea, make more money. And also, we can export the herbal medicine skills and technologies. Chinese medicine is mostly around acupuncture. The Chinese medical clinics are much smaller in scale, especially in the US. However, we have a room to to export a more advanced technologies and clinics from Korea. And as I said, we can increase the export of herbal medicine by setting up branches in the US. As I travel to Europe and South America, I am very interested in training and educating doctors of Korean medicine. And when I talk to them, in the US, the standard is very rigorously fixed, and the accrediting agencies continue to monitor. So the education of Korean medicine, Oriental medicine in the US are very well standardized, whereas it is not the case in South America or Europe, of course, Africa. And so, if you are licensed as a Korean medicine doctor in the US, then you can have your license recognized in other continents. So, by not only not only increasing the export of herbal medicine and skills through the branches, we can also go further into other continents, Europe and South America, and ultimately in the whole world. Lastly, I would like to introduce NCCAOM, one of the organizations related to Oriental medicine. NCCAOM is an institute that governs tests of accreditation. This organization covers most states in the US except several, such as California. So, if a doctor has passed the NCC AOM test, then you are recognized as a excellent doctor in most states. It tests the basic theory, acupuncture, and the herb, acupuncture, biomedicine, which is about the Western medicine. Some states require only two. Other states require three. Others requires all four. Or some states request less than one or nothing. Usually, the states in the West Coast license you only when you pass all four. And on the East Coast, as long as you have the acupuncture and the foundational course certification, you can get licensed. And in New Jersey, you have to get certification in three except for herb medicine. And in New York, there is no test for herbal. Anybody can prescribe herbal medicine. But in New Jersey, you have to be certified as an herbal medicine doctor to be able to prescribe herbal medicine. Now moving on to CCOM or CCAHM. This is a council of presidents of each university. These are further divided into departments, herbal part, clinics, and so on, acupuncture, and so on. So in these smaller panels, professors talk about how to improve the quality of education. They discuss, and then the conclusion out of this panel is advice to AOM or ACC or ACAHM. I think the time is coming to an end, so please try to wrap up your presentation. Yes, I'm almost done. Title 4, as I said, you need to have the Title 4 for your students to receive student loans. And service, it is called service. So if you operate be part of a university, you have to get this accreditation to be able to issue I-20 visa to recruit students from other than the US. So these are the requirements and the prerequisites to be able to set up and operate Oriental medical schools in the US. Thank you. Yes, that was Professor Jutet Chang, who had 25 years of setting up and educating students at universities in the US. Thank you very much.
We would like to now move on with the next presentation. I inviting Mr. Huang, CEO of Tassin Global, and
Of Tasman Global. He will be sharing valuable insight on the topic of how to enter an Oriental medical clinic into UAE markets.
안녕하십니까. 다성글로벌 대표 황의태입니다.
well, good morning, everyone. My name is Ted Huang. I am CEO of Tassin Global. I've been in Dubai for about 5 years, and also I've been working in the Northeast Asia for 5 years again. Mostly, I was involved in the healthcare industry. My job there had been licensing and also incorporating companies and also helping companies to enter those markets. Among my experiences, I'm going to pick out some of my experiences in UAE. I'm going to be punctual. I promise you that I'm going to keep time by looking at my setup timer. So it's now 10:42, so I'm going to keep my time. So here, this slide talks about the current status of the market of the alternative medicine in UAE and also the licensing of Oriental medicine and how we can enter the market with Korean medicine there. So I'm going to give you some kind of tips and do's and don'ts about entering those markets. First of all, you have to know what kind of market there is in Arab world. So you talk about the alternative medicine, but surprisingly, the traditional market, medicine market in Arab is not that different from Korea because they are based on the patients and they're based on the natural healing. So I have been bringing about 50 VIPs to some of these countries there, and all the Korean delegations that oh, we are seeing the same the cupping practices the same as in Korea. They were very surprised to know that, but the cupping kind of treatment is not something special only for the clinics in Arab. They are doing it at home, so every day their lives that they have been doing this at home. So I was myself, being treated with the cuppings in Arab every time after I had my golfing, rounding, and so on. So it was kind of the everyday life. However, Arabian cupping is different from Korean because it's less loose, it's looser, and also it is kind of not so much putting the pressure on it. So I didn't feel that well after having the cupping in Arab. What is most important in the Arab traditional medicine is unani. Unani is very similar to the body constituent principles in the traditional medicine. Therefore, they are more acceptive to the Korean traditional medicine in Arab. Also, if you look at this pictures here, this is how they are doing the cupping. And also, you're looking at a picture of a merchant of the herbal medicines. If you look at these kind of merchants, you see those are consisting of the medicinal plants, spice, roots of trees, extracts, and the leaves and so on. So, in particular, they do not have the animal-based medicine because this is the Arabic world. Other than that, all the traditional medicine has been very much activated. I've been to Korean medicine markets in Korea. I was able to compare them. So if you go to Arab, these traditional medicine markets are much more big in scale and also bigger in scale and also much more activated. Also in Arab, Iraq, Jordan, and Iran, as well as many other countries I've been to, and I was living there for about several years. And also they emphasized the importance of the traditional medicine. So starting from 2001, Korea decided to enter this Arab market. So actually, the milestone was made in 2001 when we have the department inclusive for this ACM, traditional alternative medicine. And we had 9 sections for this TACM. So as you will know later by my speech, we have a lot of activities for each of these 9 sectors. Now, if looking at the market there, we have about 250 licensed people as license holders. They're working in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and others. And they also have 135 clinics there. So Unani is much more abundant than in Ayurveda. So I lived in Dubai. I also lived in Sri Lanka for many years. There, they are calling the combination of all these traditional medicines as Unani. Unani is a general name for this. And also Ayurveda is very small. And also the alternative medicine is like the 75,000 people of the users in 2016. However, according to the surveys, on an annualized basis, they have 1.5 million users of this TM, and also 28% of them said they have done this. So we have to export about $2.2 million as of 2015. And China is taking the majority of the alternative medicine and herbal exports, taking 75% of the imports to those countries. But the level of awareness for the Korean traditional medicine or KM is quite low. They know about the TCM, but they are not so much aware of TM or KM. Korean medicine is not so much well known to them. So they are equalizing the traditional medicine in Asia as TCM, Chinese medicine, traditional medicine. And also in 2005, they started to issue the insurance codes. They do not have the insurance entities at the national level. They all have the private parties working on the insurance. And then in 2011, they started to have the licensing system for the alternative medicine. And then they have 90 kinds of herbs as strategic items. And also the licensing and accreditation are done by the three organizations, including DHA, HAAD, and DHCC, all the Dubai health authorities, and also Abu Dhabi health authorities, and so on. Now you're looking at the organizations that are involved with this licensing. But it is less complicated than in the United States, as Mr. Chu mentioned about the US market. So if you see here, if you come to Dubai or Abu Dhabi, it's you are a license holder, you can just register it, and there's no license required. But the only thing you have to do is to have the registration. But you have to know what kind of different types of the issues of licenses there are. So each of these 9 types require differently for you to apply with. They have the root number one, number two, and number three, but they do not have any very much differentiating factors because they are basic and fundamental common sense things. If you are graduates of a medical school, you will be able to fall into that categories very easily. So in Dubai, in the chiropractic campuses were very much frequently seen, and also in English, they have a lot of names of the campuses, like the buildings were like in a 5-story ones, and they have the floor area of like 100 to 200 pounds, or 400 500 square meters square. And also they are as working as the colleges, but they're actually the educational institutes, private educational institutes. They are running those kind of educational programs to provide you the licenses as working for these traditional medicine and industries. So if you are a graduate of the traditional medical school, you can go either for the route 1 or 2. And there is no accredited university level programs, tertiary educational levels in the Arabian countries. And they, although they have some kind of practices there, the level of education is not so high nor tight. So they are just quite very loose. And then that's one word I can say to you here. So you can just have that kind of atmosphere there. So licensing is in Abu Dhabi is quite similar to the one in Dubai. What is important here is that, as you might know, at the end of the slide here is that the HCC is there. Dubai CC is Dubai Healthcare Center. Both for Dubai and Abu Dhabi, they have made a kind of city level center for the health. And when I was in Dubai, Samsung medical centers and Uribe Pyongwon were Uribe hospitals were entering these markets. I was helping them to do that. So inside the HCC or Dubai Healthcare City, if you are invited into that city, you will have a lot of preferences to enjoy. It also talks about some kind of additional program requirements for the Asian traditional medicines. You will be able to take a look at this line. So it says that DHCC specifies the traditional Asian medicine association. If you are licensed with the Korean medicine, you can just go for there. So you don't have to go for the acupuncture or moxibustion out of the 9 sectors or sections I talked about. So you can just directly go to this category. The Korean KM doctors can get the licenses or get the requirements met here. So I have an acquaintance who is a KMD, and also he just enrolled for this, and he was very lucrative afterwards, and he's quite successful nowadays. Other doctors have followed his suit later. So in order to be here to be a lecturer, I just checked the fact before coming here, and then I hearing that that clinic was gone out of the business. So I was quite discouraged. I wanted to just boast about how they're doing in that country here. But I asked once again why is that, and they said, "Oh, it's a personal reason. They had their family issues, and they had some children's education issue to come back to Korea. So this could be an exception." So I was, less discouraged after hearing that. So, other than that, there can be a lot of opportunities to prosper there, and also Tong Ren Tang is very famous, well known medicine company in China, and they're also very popular in those countries. So once you are licensed as Korean traditional medicine doctor, the KMD, you have all the requirements met there. And also KIOM and also the NICOM are actually registered as the accredited bodies in the Arab countries and East Asian countries. So basically, what I'm telling you here is that you have no worries whatsoever going there after you are finished with your education as Korean traditional doctors here in Korea. You can even open a clinic there. So everything is quite simple for me to talk about. Therefore, there's nothing to remember or nothing to be cautioned. But there's one thing to remember. So you have to know where to go out of the 9 categories, as I described before. So you have to be able to pick and choose the one you would like among them. English can be a problem, but the TOEFL requirement is there. So their hurdle level is 550 points there. But I saw many medical doctors failing to get 550 points of TOEFL. But that's a must. You have to be working hard to get the English score to have the basic requirement. I'm sure that you can do it after working hard for some time. Now, let's take a look at the flow chart of the licensing of the alternative medicine. There's no requirement for this separately for the traditional medicines as Western medicines. There's nothing special that you have to do it separately. So all you have to do is follow their rules there. So anybody can be an entrant and then can be an applicant. Then you have to comply with all the requirements for the documentations. You have to file in the documentation. But this one might be it's the same one in Korea as well. So there's nothing exceptional. So if you go to the national tax offices, you will get some kind of documents to prove that you are a good taxpayer. And the same thing here. So the only thing is that you just get the certificate of the tax payment, and then also you have to get the documents to file in as well. For example, the how you build the clinics there and the licenses and also permits. So everything here seems to be very familiar to you as doctors because you have done that in Korea as well. So I'm going to spend the next 5 minutes before closing how you can be prospering there. So I don't have any Korean traditional doctors there. So it's really a very blue ocean for these Korean medicine doctors. So you can go there and do anything because it's cosmetics and also the aesthetics are the ones that you can just enter into. So you can also do the acupuncture and moxibustion as well. So moxibustion is also a very good way. So Kai is very similar one to as the moxibustion in Arab. So you can also do that to do the business, and also you kind of have the like all these prescription for the tongue and also powder. And others. I gave you the example of Tong Len Tang, and that was quite successful there. They had very good services there. So you have to do the same thing as the post diagnosis and also the other treatments, and also what Tong Len Tang do is that you just are invited. Then you are tested with their treatments as well diagnostics and actually the sample medicine. Then you can try for like let's say for 1 week. If you don't have any side effect, you can go ahead and purchase more, so there is no risk on that, and so you can have that kind of business model there. But the only thing you have to be mindful is that they are not allowing you to have the animal based products. So, like in the Li Huang Qin Xin one is not allowed there, for example, and also cupping. So if Korean cupping is well known or more advertised in those countries, you will take the 70% of the market, I'm sure. I guarantee you that you will be very successful because the their system is really less effective and less strong. So I am an experienced person with doing that, doing both. I really see the difference. So you will be very successful because they charge like 70 to 80 US dollars there, and also you will be able to just charge more and make more money. And also TCM is quite well known in those countries. And as I said, KM is not understood at all. So if what we are talking about KM, there was a what is it? So that's kind of current situation and reality here now. So you can open a clinic, of course, but there's no awareness at all. So why don't you just go ahead and join hands with the TCM doctors so that you can do the business together because the TCM is well known and TCM is also recognizing KM. Therefore, in order to be complementary, you are also encouraged to work with them. So, for example, Tonglen Tang is really a big business there. So you can just join hands in together. You can just put the wagon into the wagon, or you can just have a very similar one. So the KM can be more understood later on. Maybe also they can say that KM is a little bit different from TCM. That's the goal. And we also Konglendang has the Arabic version language version of their manuals, but here in our cases, KM doctors, KMDs do not speak any Arabic language. But in China is different. In the wealthy people in China, they are using the Arabic language, so the language in the can be also some kind of harder to think of, and also culture things. Actually, Korean K drama is quite popular there, so you can just take advantage of it. For your reference, I have listed all the successful cases there. So this is the end of my story. In conclusion, UAE is a very good market. So if you are dubious about your business there, I'm sure that you will be very successful and more successful than in Korea after a couple of years. Also, education for your children is quite advantageous and favorable to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing very real experience that you had in Dubai and UAE, and you also explained the process of entering the Dubai market. And the third one is titled the Vietnam Strategy and Cases of Korean Medicine's Entry into Vietnam. That is Director Lee Jung-han of Wongang University of Korean Medicine Hospital. As introduced, I am Lee Jung-han from Wongang University Korean Medicine Hospital. I've been sponsored by for my projects in by the Korean KHIDI. So I would like to share the result of my project here. So I'm going to briefly talk about what we did in the Vietnam market, how we entered the Vietnam market. If you look at the map of Vietnam, the official name is Socialist Republic of Vietnam. The capital is Hanoi. The political capital is Hanoi, but all the economic activities are happening in Ho Chi Minh. It is a long country, it's S-shaped and has more than 3,000 kilometers of coastline. The population recorded 96 million in 2019. And last year, it is almost reaching 100 million people. the population uses the language of Vietnamese, and the currency is Vietnam Dong. So if you convert currency into Vietnam Dong, you know that the currency is very large in numbers. So you can divide this about 20 to convert this into Korean won. And if you look at Vietnam's economy, the GDP per capita is about 3,200 US dollar compared to Korea's GDP, which is about 32,000 US dollars. Vietnam 3,500. And according to an article that I saw, over the last 15 years, Vietnam is the country where the per capita GDP is increasing as the fastest in the world. So if you think about the 100 million population of Vietnam, Vietnamese market has a very big potential. The population is, as I said, will probably exceed 100 million people maybe this year or next year, and it will start to decrease about 2000 year 2100. And the population structure at the moment it has the pyramid shape, and it is going to be moving into a base shape. The median age is very young at 32. In Korea, the median age is 46. So Vietnam is about more than 10 years younger than Korea. However, the fertility rate is slowly decreasing, and with the slowly aging population, Vietnam's policy is slowly changing into encouraging couples to have more than two children. Let's look at the longevity. The expected lifespan is about 72 years for females and 70 for males. It is a little bit lower than OECD average. And as I said, the fertility rate started from 3.2 and now stagnates to 1.9 and further down to 1.7. So Vietnam will very soon experience aging and low fertility society. And if you look at the spending on health, in Korea, about 30% of spending is coming out of pocket of people, whereas one third of it coming from the government. In Vietnam, half of this spending is coming from out of pocket, and the other half, coming from government spending. The national government, the provincial or local governments provide essential health care, and the rate of essential healthcare from the government is about 60%, whereas in Korea that percentage is at 80%. If you look at the index of essential medical care, most advanced countries show about 88% or so, whereas Vietnam is showing only a 60% at the moment. Looking at the cause of death, stroke, ischemic heart diseases, diabetes are some of the top causes of death. And just like Korea, the diseases such as metabolic diseases an important cause of death. If you have been to Vietnam, you must have noticed that there are a lot of motorcycles. So it is very dangerous to be in the road. And if you have a car car insurance business in Vietnam, the insurance company will be very profitable. But actually, the accidents do not happen very much because there's actually an order that seems to be a total chaos in there. And even if they do have accidents, they don't really go to the hospital if the accident is not very severe. The Vietnamese diet and the lifestyle is also slowly being westernized, so they now have a problem that many Westerners have in their healthcare. If you look at the cause of death and disability combined, also at the top you have stroke and ischemic heart disease. And road injuries is also one of the top reasons, not for death, but for disability. And in the top five, there's low back pain, a musculoskeletal disease. It is not a cause of death, but this definitely is a cause of disability. If you look at the risk factors for death and disability, there's high blood pressure, and Vietnamese, there are a lot of smokers among Vietnamese. So if you look at smokers here in Vietnam, I can see that this is actually a paradise for smokers, which is different from Korea. Here, the smokers do not have much say. I do not feel the discomfort or inconvenience in Vietnam because in Korea, I'm not a smoker, but in Korea, I understand that smokers have to find the designated smoking spaces. But in Vietnam, the things are different. They are very understanding about smokers. So this leads to problems such as hypertension or high blood glucose. And the air pollution is very bad, especially in Ho Chi Minh. And about 30 minutes of flight from Ho Chi Minh is Dalat. Dalat is a tourism city, so the air pollution in Dalat is not as bad as Ho Chi Minh. If you look at the healthcare systems, at the center is the Department of Health, Ministry of Health. And under the Ministry of Health, there are 63 provincial governments, under which there's district governments. And under district government, there's communal level hospitals. 96% of hospitals are public, and only 4% of hospitals are private. Most of healthcare in Vietnam is coming from the public healthcare market. However, Vietnam has a very big shortage of the number of doctors, only 1.82 doctors per 1,000 people of population. And there are even fewer nurses compared to OECD standards. There's only 1.45 nurses per 1,000 people, whereas in OECD there should be more than 10 nurses per 1,000. It is only 13 to 14% of OECD average. And as there are government level or government funded hospitals funded by the Ministry of Health, and most of these government hospitals are concentrated in Hanoi, which is the capital, and also the economic capital of Hanoi in the southern part of the country. And 60% of population are concentrated either in Ho Chi Minh or Hanoi. So if people who are living in the middle or in small cities get sick, they have to fly to either Ho Chi Minh or Hanoi to get care. So public healthcare centers and hospitals are under these four levels of government, and the hospital that we established in Talat is also not a private center. We set up a Oriental Medicine Center, one story of the Talat city government hospital. If you look at healthcare professionals, there's medical PhD, and associate assistant doctors and pharmacists, nurses, and so on. So as I said, there is a serious shortage of healthcare professionals. If you look at the health insurance system, there are 5 stages of innovating, revolutionizing the health insurance system. As of 2016, the health insurance covers only 80% of the population. The remaining 20% of the population are not insured. According to a thesis that I read, of course, it is important for the government to insure people with pharmacological products, but what's more important than that is to expand the coverage of the insurance to include the entire population. And if you look at the percentage of laborers, if you look at the laborers, they have to pay about 4.5% of their wages. as insurance premium. 3% is paid by the employer, and the 1.5% is paid by the employee. In traditional medicine in Vietnam, is also called traditional Vietnamese medicine, which is the traditional Vietnamese thing. There's also traditional medicine coming from other countries. Of course, there are doctors from other countries who have made inroads into the Vietnamese market from the Eastern world and the Western world. But if you think about the Vietnamese traditional medicine, there's one part that uses herbal medicine and the other part that doesn't use herbal medicine. As I said, it is a long country from south to west, 3,000 kilometers long. So the northern part is heavily influenced by China, and the southern part of Vietnam is heavily influenced by the original traditional Vietnamese medicine. And the traditional Vietnamese medicine heavily uses herbal medicine, followed by acupuncture, chiropractic, and qigong. But the most important and the most widely used skills are acupuncture and herbal medicine. Next, I would share a case study about how we were able to enter the Vietnamese market. We were sponsored by the guidelines. We were helped by the guidelines that are written by the Ministry of Health, and also the export guidebooks for Vietnamese and other Southeast Asian countries. So you can reference these guidebooks, which I also did as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about our university, Wonkwang University. Under Wonkwang University, there are about 8 hospitals, and including the entrusted hospitals, we have 10 schools. They all share the same mission, which means that we are saving all the lives through medical technology, medical skills. That is the mission of all hospitals under Wonkwang Foundation. Our vision is to become a hospital that heals the people, not only addressing diseases. Our hospitals have more than 47 years of history. We are also a specialized stroke care health center. We have already established the hospitals in Vietnam and Russia, but we are short of actually entering Russia because of the current war, but we have built the building already. When I went to Talat in 2018, we could not meet Korean at all, but after some celebrities visit to Talat, Talat has become more famous in the press, so now it is attracting many Korean tourists. Travel agencies promote not only Nha Trang, which is a oceanfront tourist destination, they also take their customers to Talat. Talat's average temperature is 18 to 22 degrees. So it is called a city of spring or city of flowers. It is in high altitude. When Vietnam was a French colony, the highest commander, chief commander of the French military had his home, holiday home in Talat as well, which means that it boasts a climate, very good climate, and many newlyweds choose Talat as a honeymoon destination. In 2018, there were only 7 million Korean tourists, and now it is about to reach 10 million tourists a year. Talat city itself is getting bigger, and one of the very famous Korean TV shows, celebrities came to Talat looking around the traditional market and having a good time there. So even within Vietnam, Talat is known for good climate, attracting many tourists, and it is also known for coffee, green tea, and other specialties. So when tourists visit Ho Chi Minh, currently there are direct flights from Wuhan, Busan, low cost carriers, but Korean Air go to Talat after stopping in Ho Chi Minh. It is only 30 minutes or 1 hour of flight from Ho Chi Minh City. In 2018, we were asked to do a project by Korea Health Insurance Development Institute. And so we traveled directly to Talat to talk to the party secretary. You understand that it is a socialist country, so you have to first meet the party secretary, and then we meet the mayor, vice mayor, and the speaker of the council of Talat, and we signed an MOU with these representatives of Talat. And within a month, we were able to establish a Korean medical center in the community health center in Talat. It is a very special case, and many people have said that it is impossible to set up a clinic within a month, but the Secretary General who worked with me visited Vietnam, Dalat, Vietnam 3 times or more times within a month. So his hard work actually helped our fast process, and he was able to get the trust of party secretary and the mayor. We were able to set up the health center and start an opening ceremony and started our practice. And in 2018 and 2019, the professors from Wonkwang University, and nurses, and the admin staff would travel for a week every month. We rotated the manpower traveling to Dalat. And in 2018, myself and another professor received the foreign doctors. We received a license as a foreign doctor who can practice in Vietnam. So we were formally licensed to practice in Vietnam. During COVID, everything and all the global travel have stopped, so our hard work had to stop as well. But starting this year, we were able to pick up our efforts to expand and advance our work further. If you look at some photos, this is the Korean Medicine Health Center. And this person standing in the middle used to be the dean of our school. This is myself and the mayor of Dalat. And the photo below is where we were doing the symposium, celebrating the opening of our health center. We were having the reception at the symposium. And this is a photo of our practice at the clinic. And we are hosting 2 seminars a year. Through this thanks for our efforts of academic exchange. These exchange efforts were recognized by the world. We also invited the Talat healthcare professionals to Wonkwang University to provide some training. And June this year, we signed and renewed our MOU with the party secretary and the mayor of Talat. And this person is the mayor of Changhung in Jeollanam-do. In Changhung, I was also the president of Changhung Integrative Medicine Health Center. And Changhung and Talat signed an MOU. Talat has 400,000 of people, and Changhung 35,000. It is difficult for a county and the city to sign an MOU, but this was possible because we are doing it through the publicness of a health center. So Changheng County now has a channel to export their agricultural products such as kim, the seaweed, through our clinics. And Changheng County gave us a coin of appreciation for this help as well. And there was Talat University, and there's a Department of Korean Language Studies. Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi, and Talat University used to be the top 3 universities in Vietnam. Talat University signed an MOU with Wonkwang University. 40 students from Korean Department of Talat University are now doing their studies abroad at Wonkwang University. Of course, it is important for hospitals to make money in foreign markets, but since we have our publicness as a healthcare provider, we have to also contribute to other aspects of the society, such as this. The photo from the left is the appreciation token from Dalat, and the one on the right is my license from Vietnam. So this year, the dean of Oriental Medicine and our hospital president went to Ho Chi Minh and they applied for the test as license. I accompanied them and met with a doctor of Korean medicine who has a clinic in Ho Chi Minh. There are only actually two Korean doctors of Korean medicine who have the license in Ho Chi Minh. They cannot get the license just by passing the English exam. English exams is only 5% of the license test. The big part of this preparation is document preparation. Even if you have all the documents ready, sometimes you have to wait for 3 years. I know of one doctor who waited for 3 years and gave up. But this doctor that I met in Ho Chi Minh was able to get the license within a year. But I was lucky because the party secretary and the mayor recognized my employment. So I was able to get the license very quickly. And based on that, we are inviting two more professors applying for this test this year. In entering Vietnam, there should be many strategies, such as market research, selection. You have to choose whether to go to Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi, or Dalat. You should also understand regulatory and legal requirements. You may also have to sign partnerships. And I just mentioned doctors having to pass some tests. In Hamsoa is one of the brands, and 5 or 6 doctors from Hamsoa Korean medical centers apply for this test as well. JM Group is a big pharmaceutical company in Vietnam. This is a company that distributes Korean pharmaceuticals such as Chonggendang or other big pharmas, and they were able to apply for this test through JM Group, which is a partner. So it is very important to have a local partner. Whereas our university, Wonkwang University, was able to pass the test, apply for and pass the test because we had our relationship with Talat city government. Uh, for me, I was very lucky because for me it was easy to pass the test and get the license. But as I talked to the doctor of clinics in Ho Chi Minh, actually opening a clinic, especially from the private sector, would be very difficult because even if you are fully qualified, it takes you a lot of time to get the documents approved and get the license. As I go back to this part a little bit further in the soon. Although we were able to set up a public hospital here in Talat, setting up an hospital or clinic in the private sector will take a little more time, and we are currently in the process of preparing for that venture. The future tasks for us remain such as, of course, we are operating our health center very well, and we are working even harder to expanded. And since we have big sponsorship from Talas City because we are a public hospital, but what matters is I participated in this project because I served as a professor. So I wanted to help our students not only practice in Korea, but also in other countries because Korean market is not very big. And many Korean medicine doctors are insisting that we should reduce the number of students, but I don't think that is the way because that will actually shrink the power of Korean medicine. Instead of reducing the number of students, I think we need to expand the market by going abroad. If you reduce our size, if you reduce the number of people, then the position of Korean medicine itself will shrink. So I do not agree with that idea. So as I serve in the university, I would like to help my students go abroad and make inroads into foreign markets, and that is why we also went to Russia. Other speakers have spoken about expanding markets into the US or Arab world. There should be more resources, there should be more manpower for our academic position to be strengthened. Now we have established our position in the public health sector. The future task for us would be how to expand in the private sector So lastly, I would like to show about 3 minutes of video. He was our president. He also invited our president to travel to our hospital. When the president visited Vietnam, he was very well received. Even the military staff hosted a welcome dinner. That was the party secretary. And we were also invited to the flower festival. Dalat is also known for mushrooms. So is Changhung County. That is why they are sister members. And that was the doctor who applied for the test just now. We also visited the Traditional Medicine Museum. On September 16th, about 30 people out of 50 took the test of English. There were doctors of Korean medicine, but also professors of Western medicine and dentists as well. About 30 people took the English test. So not only Korean medical doctors, but dentists and Western medical doctors are looking to go to Vietnam. And from the Western medicine, there is gynecology, OBGYN, and pediatrics departments are coming to Vietnam. Thank you very much for listening. There was a presentation on the stories of entering Vietnam, especially the city of Dalat. Thank you for your presentation. He talked about not only entering in the medical market, but also bridging as a cooperation between cities of Korea and Vietnam. Thank you.
Now I'm very pleased to give you the last speaker of this morning session. And the speaker will be Dr. Chung Hun Cho from first floor Kyung Hee University Hospital. So he is online.
Medical practitioner in Australia will be delivered in video by Director Jong Hoon Cho of the first floor Gyeonggi Korea Medicine Clinic. Let's proceed to watch the video presentation.
네, 안녕하십니까.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to 2023 International Congress for Global Cooperation in Traditional Medicine. I apologize, first of all, not to be able to be with you in person. I am only sending my video here while I'm taking here, so my apologies. I wish I could be there. Today, I'm going to give you a talk about an experience as a Chinese medical practitioner in Australia. I myself have been in Korea, in here in Australia for 10 years. So based on my experiences, I'm going to share what I have felt so far. I have two things to share with you today. Number one, I titled it as a to be a practitioner. So this is how to become a practitioner of the traditional medicine doctors in Australia. Second one, I called it as work as a practitioner. It's about the do's and don'ts when you are a practitioner in Australia. Let's start now. So number one, to be a practitioner. So what kind of preparations you have to make is my topic today. So as you see here, you are looking at a picture of a book cover that was done in 2016. That was done by KIOM, and also this preparation material was very much useful to us. Therefore, and try to use this as my guide. And also, it helped me a lot to be working and being a practitioner in Australia. So I'm also sharing that with you so that you can have a reference to this. Since my time is limited here in my talk, if you have more questions or if you have anything missing or you want to refer to, please search this guidebook under this name, and the internet is quite easy to get it. So if you read it through, it will be very much helpful, I guarantee. So as a traditional medicine doctor, if you want to be working here in Australia, this is some kind of analogy I'm going to give you. There are three major hurdles to go through. So where I live here is in Australia. So not far away from Sydney, there is something called Blue Mountain, which is a very big tourist destination. And also the most well-known point here, as you see from the picture, is Three Sisters Walk. So we have three peaks here. So it also signifies the three hurdles they have to overcome in order to be a Chinese medical practitioner. So let's talk about the first one. The first hurdle is about the visa. As you might be aware of, if you want to be working in Australia, you have to have a visa to enable you stay for a long time, relatively stably. That's the first thing you have to do. You have to acquire the visa. So in this booklet I'm showing you now, part 6 is about the visa issuance. So it talks very much about how you get the visa in detail. So actually we have a lot of purposes. So the category that we are interested in is at the end of this section because they have a lot of purposes. So please go back to this kind of part here if you want to be working there. So as you know, in 2016, was the year for this booklet, and I have to advise you that the policies for immigration in Australia have been changing over time very frequently and also sometimes unexpectedly. So when I did my research, this is the time when we have some differences from the time when this book was issued. So I'm going to also cover those differences in my presentation. And if you are interested in this, please go to the website in the address in this red color. So if you visit this website, you will be linked to the Immigration Bureau of Australia. And then you click the visa tab. So if you go the tab, you will also see the list of things that you have to be aware of. And also the first one is getting visa. Getting visa is the number one thing. And that's about what you have to make and what you should not make at all. So what kind of visa type you want to have? That's the first thing you have to have prior to coming to this website. So secondly, you will have the list of visa here. So please click the visa list and you will see the list of all the different visas there. And out of them, you will be able to see this screen here. And as you see, there are so many different types of visas to make you or have you work here. Depending on the circumstances of the visa applicants and also depending on their purposes, the types of visas will differ. I highlighted in red color and you will be able to see two bullets there. So they're about the subclasses of visa types. As I mentioned, the booklet in 2016 also talk about these two subclass visas here. So these two are in a different. Number one, the first one is about the investment visa. If you are a business person or if you are making investment in cash in Australia, investment visa will be issued for you. The second one is nominated visa. So if you have anybody in your family members, you can be invited by them. So anybody who is very close to you and he says that you have to be invited for sure, then you will be nominated for this visa. So that's the nominated visa. These two are the most likely ones that you can get. As I said, when the book was made in 2016, there was third visa available for you. However, as you see now, the screen of today, that's not here. So that e-visa was gone. So that was for the past, that not anymore. It's also you can see the 457 visa that was the most frequently used one, but that is now obsolete. So 2016 version has 457 visa, but not anymore in the later versions. So if you are coming to Australia, please don't be confused with this because also when you are coming in Australia next time, maybe next time will be different again. So therefore, you have to do your own pre-study about what types of visas are available at the moment and currently. And also, there are so many experts who will help you with the getting the visa. Therefore, it's safer for you to get the assistance from these experts rather than just working alone. Now, let's suppose that you got the visa. The next thing is to work as a practitioner of TM in Australia. And also, you have to prove that you are qualified in order to do that. In Australia, we don't have the license system, they have the registration system. So you have to register yourself on the Australian system. So it says license in Korean, but it's a kind of typo, I guess. So we shouldn't call it a license. It's only a registration. So you have to go ahead with the registration of yourselves as the TMD and what kind of things are needed. So that's the web page. I recommend you to go for sure. And also please look at the red color as the address. So www.ahpra.gov.au. So the alpha is the name of it. So I will revisit this again later, but you have to be remembering this. This is the registration system in Australia, especially for the medical related systems. And they have the boards which are related to all the medical fields. So there are different boards like doctors boards, physiologists boards, and nurses boards, and so on. So they have the semi-private organization to cover all the boards, and that's AFRA. So if you see the red color here, you can go there and also please click the board here. So inside the system, you will be able to see all kinds of different boards there. So medicine board and doctor's board and so on. Out of them, you will be able to find the traditional medicine board as well. So now you go to the link. Then you will be able to see this one popping up for you. So it has a lot of boards here. Then among them, this board has the role of checking and also helping you with the businesses as the traditional businesses. So this is to help you with all these kind of regular businesses. And also in your performance as the medical doctors, they have the interim accreditation procedures for you to know whether you are really qualified or not continuously. The third one they are doing is to have the registration. They can kind of do the administration work from you after getting the registration. So we have a lot of things to cover here, but you don't have to know everything for now. So I would like to only pinpoint what is needed here in really. So the genre is the far left box here. So genre is the Chinese medicine board is quite important. And also underneath they have three different parts: acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine, and Chinese herbal dispensing. So if you are, and also if you are not a student, you don't have to go there. And if you are the research, without a researchers, you don't have to go to the limited section. And then also in these three parts, you have the three, all these things. Also, of course, you can have these as options, or you can go for all of these three things. And also as a non-practicing, you don't have to register at all. So you can pick and choose whatever you need. Now, if you go to the next screen of the Alpha, you'll be able to see a lot of screens here. So on the far right that bottom, I had the red color here. In order to have the registration ready for you in the foreign countries, what is needed? So you go to the link here, and also you will be able to see the already qualified medical doctors and what kind of requirements are needed. Actually, you will be able to see a lot of these different things, but among them, if you follow the whole links there, I cannot show all the pages at a time, so I had just pick and choose here. So in order to make the registration, some documents are needed to be filed in. And also if you're just follow through all the processes by providing the documents, you can always go to the end of it. It means that you can always fill out all the forms. Unless you are not that disqualified, that means that this is really easy to follow all the things. And also only if you're not flawed, then you will be able to get to the end of the processes. So all the support and that data will be also available. Any traditional medical doctors coming from other countries than Australia will be able to go through this process. Now you go to the registration and then you go to the immigration and get the visa. That's what they say as a recommendation here. But in my personal opinion, the order should be shifted. Not getting the visa later, but I recommend you to have the visa earlier because it will ensure you to have a stable life in Australia. And then afterwards, you go ahead with the registration as the TM doctor. Now you're looking at the forms here. Actually, these forms are also very diverse. And also we have A to Z forms here. So in order to make preparation for these forms, there can be also a lot of different hurdles to go through. For example, registration hurdle is number one. I call it the registration. You have the E to Z, G here out of them. They are also talking about a lot of different things. So let's talk about the E first, sections E. That's about the educational background. You have to prove that you are highly qualified academically. And then also you have the work history. So now that you have the educational background, you have to prove that you are also experienced in the field. So they're requiring you to present the documents. So you have to have the documents ready for you. So after making these preparations with the documentation, another thing here is that if you look at the bottom of the screen here, it's called sustainability. It means that in Australia, if you want to have a life here, you also have to have academic and work experiences. You should not have any daily problems or issues in living life here. One of the examples is English language capability. So Australia is an immigration country, so there are different ethnicities coming in Australia. English can be the common tool for them to survive. Without having some English knowledge, they cannot work and properly or live properly here. So you have four different ways of proving your English ability. I'll be also talking about that later. So let's talk about the English language skills. There's all different proof ways of the skills of English. So as I said earlier, I told you that they have about 13 boards of the medical fields. They all have different requirements for the English language capability. So please take a look at some of the requirements here relevant to this in the Chinese medicine is the one thing. So I'm going to just pinpoint here so you follow this and you will be able to see what kind of language capabilities you have to prove. There are also ways of how to do that. So this part, you have to be able to look at that. And so please click and open this and you will be able to see how you can do that. There are actually four categories. But in fact, this is the first category, primary language. So if your mother tongue is English, then that's one thing. And also you have the education of English at the secondary education or tertiary education. What it means here is that secondary is high school and tertiary is after high school. So if you have the kind of English learning process after these, you can also fill that in as well. So I think this slide is the most important part because what I'm saying here is that all of you must be falling into this category because you have to prove your English ability through test score. And the tests that are accredited by Australian government is as follows. So for example, they have IELTS and also the TOEFL, and OET, and PTE. All these different tests have their hurdles or criteria to say yes or no. You'll be able to see how these tests are taken. So you will be able to also know what kind of preparations are needed. So some of you might be afraid of the English capabilities and not sure if you can pass the examination like these. If you're really worried, the one tip is to get ready before coming to Australia in advance, much earlier. Now, everything is done. Let's suppose that you're working as a TMD as here. So I have one more data to show you in addition to the booklet in 2016. So this is the something related to the entrance of Australia as a part of industrial activities. So if you want to work as ATMD, you need to have some kind of background information about Australian health system. So if you expand this part here, the red box, and this is what you can see here. So the national health system in Korea is called Medicare in Australia. So if using the Medicare, if you're in the Medicare system, you will be most covered by most of the time. But if you're not, you also have the secondary system called private health insurance. But in Australian healthcare system, the acupuncture and the TM is not covered by Medicare. So if you have patients for the acupuncture, they're not covered by the public health care called Medicare. They have to be covered and reimbursed by private health insurance. I'll be also revisiting this again later. Another thing that I recommend you to think about is this one. Australia is an immigration country, as I said. So many ethnicities are living together in this country. The US is called as a melting pot, we're having a lot of different immigrants, but there's a difference between Australia and the US. This is the difference. So in Australia, the left side. So the white people or Caucasians, compared to the ratio of these Caucasians, relatively speaking, the immigrants are taking bigger portion than in the US because they're taking almost 20%. 20% of the population is not a small one at all. On the other hand, on the right side, in the United States, so they have the whites and black, the African Americans, and except for the no Hispanics, and except for three categories, the rest of them are less than 10%, and this is a huge difference. So if you go to Australia, come to Australia and work as a TMD, you have to be mindful about the differences between Australia and the United States. So it means that you're going to meet with various different types of people. So what kind of people you are going to meet with, and that's one thing to consider. Next, this is the information about the TMDs in Australia. So this is dated in 2023. It was 2012 when Australia first started to have the TMD practitioners in the country. So comparing the start and now, after 10 years, you'll be able to see the differences. On the left chart, they have all these sections here, general Now, the columns mean all different states in Australia. So they have all different numbers, and you will be able to see the general and also the rows and limited and non-practicing. Limited means when they first came to Australia, as they just try out things, they have the limitation given to some of the TMDs because they have to prove their education and capabilities over the course of the time, and then they will be graduating from the limited section and then they will become general. So let's compare the number of general. And it started with 3,800 in 2012, and then it went up to 4,400. So it's like 1,000 numbers more in 10 years. And then for the limited section, when it was first started in 2012, they had like 150 to 160, but now they only have one. Means that almost all of them are graduated from limited. And one thing to note is that they have this increase of the number of TMDs only 1,000 people every year. So that's not a big for 10 years, and that's a big difference because Korea has 1,000 TMDs every year out of the schools. And also, if you work here, there are two steps to think about because that's about the do's and don'ts, and also you can talk about the it's kind of private insurance practices. Let's go to the guide part 7, and that's about the clinic operation and build up setup. So this is the NDA guidelines. So if you are working as TMD here, there's a guideline to refer to. So this is the one. So if you go in there, there are many things to talk about. What I'm going to emphasize here is only twofold here. Number one, that you have to know about is that the pharmacopuncture is not allowed in Australia because for the acupuncture, this is the only, almost the only limitation. And also number two, they have a lot of limitations of the use of the drugs. This one, I ask you to look at this one, this part. So the prescription. So we also have the prescriptions in the TM. So you have to be mindful about how you write the prescriptions. That's the part here. So when you make the prescription itself should be written in English handwriting. And then, so English is a must. Number two, this part. Look at this. Individual drugs used for the prescription should be written in pinyin. So you have to just phonetically writing down all the names. I'll give you an example of this, how you do the pinyin. So most of them are written in English. So on the left corner of the prescription, the names of the drugs are all written in pinyin or phonetically written. So you have to learn how you write down in pinyin the Chinese phonetically spoke written in English. So you have this is your homework to do. Next one is then for the Korea maybe as well. We have a lot of taboos and limitations of the drugs in use, and they are also changing over time. This list is changing. Most of the time, I believe that it's very similar between Korea and Australia. But as out of common sense, we know that what not to use. But sometimes we wonder, as a surprise, to not to understand why we should not be able to use it. One example is Ma Huang or Ephedra sinica. The other example is the Aucklandia radix or Mu Xiang. And these two are quite surprises for you, but it's true that you are not able to use both of them. And also next one is part 5, the affiliation of the associations. The terminology in itself of the name of the part 5 is dubious, but I'm going to go ahead anyway. So Medicare is one thing for the Australian health system, and the next one is private health system, as I said before. And Medicare doesn't cover you for the TM. Only private health insurance will cover you for your patients. But there's diverse types of the private healthcare systems. There are so many healthcare service providers. So if you know this, and there are so many associations, the professional associations here. So these professional associations are giving you the provider number, meaning that you are licensed or registered with the practices and you get the number for the accreditation. So once you get the number, then you will be able to give the patients, the insurance customer, or and you give the prescription, and this customer will go to the insurance to get the claim. This is a long process. Of course, there's a way of reducing the processes, but that's not the thing you have to know right now. By doing so, you will be able to find that it is very difficult to have the individual qualifications as the TMDs. So that's why we use professional associations. Number of associations is limited and small, therefore it's easier. So you get get the recognition by the professional associations for your practices. And these associations, through the membership, you become a member, and then through the membership, when you apply for the membership, they just have the examination for you, and they decide that you are qualified enough. And then if you get the membership, then you are registered, recognized as a member, and then you get the list. And also you can deal with the insurance companies as well as insurance customers, and with the provider number. So I've been talking about a lot of things today, but in short, I have to tell you that you have three things to check before coming to Australia. Number one, visa. Number two, the items for registration. Number three, English. When you're here in Australia, you have to know do's and don'ts, how you do the prescription, about the list of drugs, and also you have to be affiliated with the professional associations. These are the lessons that you can take. Well, I'm not sure if I have provided everything within this limited time. This is all about what I can give you today. So thank you very much. And as I said earlier, I'm very sorry not to be able to present myself to you in person. I'm just showing you a video now. I'm very sorry about that. But I really hope that the 23 International Conference in Global Cooperation can be successful. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you so much. And it is a practitioner in Australia, and the ideas were very lively and also helpful for us. Thank you very much once again. This has been the morning session. We have had a lot of ideas and lessons to enter each different country, including the UAE, Vietnam, and also Australia. So it has been very much helpful for us.